Could you
board
tell me
meeting.
which letter you're reading in,
I'm
please?
C.
Okay.
It's on the back side.
Okay.
If, however, a proposal to revise or rescind a policy is presented at the board meeting as an addendum to the published agenda, the board will not take action on the proposal until subsequent meeting. I guess I just wanted to know why that was changed. I know we had a policy that there was a problem with that y'all didn't want to pass it.
No,
Until we
this
spoke about
was, those recommended changes came straight from the NCSBA to revise language throughout for clarity.
Okay, this doesn't change the policy necessarily. Is it just rewording of the policy?
It's just rewording of the policy to let us know that we have to have board majority. I guess the way it was written before, that they didn't, they added, the lines that was in there was the first line that they struck out. And then they added in all the rest of the words.
Okay, so this wording actually takes away our ability to pass any policy that is, I'm just trying to understand what this is. I mean, if y'all would rather pull this and just talk about it at the next meeting, that's fine. I feel like everybody is just not quite.
Madam Chair, I think that's a great idea.
Wait, hold on. Mr. Boyer, I'm going to look it up for our policy discussion because I made notes.
So if I can just explain, basically what it says here, if a proposal to revise or rescind a policy is included in our published meeting agenda, the meeting agenda that we put out days before so the public can be prepared for the actions that we take, the board may take action on the proposal at that board meeting. We can revise the policy right there at the meeting. We can change the policy right there at the meeting. We can do everything that we've always done. If we come to a meeting and somebody says, hey, let's just do this policy, and we add it to the beginning, if a proposal to revise or rescind a policy is presented at the board meeting as an addendum to the published agenda, the board will not take action on the proposal until the next meeting. So we can discuss it, we can argue about it, we can talk about it, and then we can vote on it at the next meeting to give the public time to look at it and comment.
Right, so we can't add it and discuss it.
Okay, because typically, first, second reading is like 30 days. This is suggesting the next meeting, right? So if it was an interim.
This is not suggesting that. This is,
Okay.
we're sticking with the same timeline with regards to that. What this is saying is that if we come up and we add a new policy to the agenda that was not on the published agenda, we can't do something to that policy at that agenda. But I will remind the board that we are always at liberty to waive policy.
Correct. So, and I apologize, but the reason I was just clarifying is because it says the next, until a subsequent meeting. So it could be the next interim meeting, or it could be the next regular meeting. It doesn't matter.
Published.
I would read that as either one.
I also, too, want to point out in this policy, this is for policy development, adoption, and review. We do not have to have a first and second reading for policy amendments. That we can go through it in policy, and we can amend it, and we can approve it at the next meeting. Our policy committee, and when I spoke with Colin at the time, is that it is best practice not to have a policy at policy committee and then have it on the agenda for the interim meeting, because there wouldn't have been enough time for board comment and public comment. So we do not have to have first and second reading for policies that are amended, which right now, after we do 2 policies in old business, we will have no new policies to go through. We will have our new student voice, we will have our superintendent, and we will have the evaluation, and we will have the Title IX definitions. All those will be the last of our new policies. So going forward, we do not have to have first and second readings. Okay, so is there a motion to adopt this policy with, and here's what so the school board's policy just said that we are revising it. These are our suggestions for language clarity. Is there a motion to accept the policy?
Moved.
As amended?
Moved.
Second.
Okay, Nelson, Adams, all right. Any discussion? Okay, Ms. Bowie, will you call the roll, please?
Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Mr. McManus?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
Ms. Craybill?
Yes.
Ms. Adams?
Aye.
Mr. Wildebohr?
Aye.
And Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Okay, that passes 7-0. Okay, so next up that Ms. Walker wanted wanted to pull out was policy 3300, school calendar and time for instruction. So let me just, before you ask your questions, I would love to read in to record what the school board said to us. It says, just includes minor changes to organizational and wording. That's all. And I did want to call your attention to, in case anybody's interested, when we're talking about hours of instruction, that reciting the Pledge of Allegiance is considered instruction time. So for that 5 minutes in your classroom, that counts, if we're going to keep this policy as it is. All right, so Ms. Walker.
So I had questions, and thank you for clarifying the wording, but I feel like there are big chunks. I know since we're having calendar discussion, I feel like these are what you described substantive changes. You had a whole list, I think you guys had a whole list of things that were pretty much minor, changes, commas, et cetera. This is in the second part of that list under consensus, which is substantive, which I think should not be lumped in with a consensus item. This particular paragraph talks about an instructional day. I mean, we know the state of North Carolina that school boards can decide the instructional, day. But I'm not sure who put the wording. Was this the school board association?
Everything in red is them. Everything in here, red and blue, is them. And the only thing I really wanted to call out to our attention is that under school calendar, where it talks about the calendar committee, will letter B that used to be letter C. That is where there is a direct conflict between policy 2230 and 3300. So that is what I wanted us to talk about. Ms. Justice has a major problem with the calendar committee, so I assumed that she'd want to talk about this.
Oh, I can say a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to talk now?
So who wants to go first? Ms. Walker, since you brought it up, you want to start?
Well, no, I'll yield to Ms. Justice.
Okay, I'm not on the calendar committee. And when I first came on the board 4 years ago, I didn't volunteer for that because I've been on many calendar committees. Calendar committees are working committees. Right now, I asked for a list of who was on them. The last one had like 23 people on it, and half the time only half the people showed up. This one's got now up to 43. That's not a working committee. I don't know how it's morphed into this, but I've never seen anything like it. It's very specific in who they say is on it, and it doesn't say 43 people. It just says one person from here, one person from there, and it covers it.
It says at least one.
Well, I said one.
At least is different than one.
Excuse me. Wow. What we need to do is we need to be smart. We need to have public input, but we don't need to have calendars, any kind of committee actually, that can't serve its function because it's so huge. And then what you happen is you have one person leading the whole pack because there's no real discussion that's going to be able to go on. Or you break them up into little areas and you give them goals, but I mean, that takes forever. Every calendar committee I've ever worked on has been very efficient. They wanted to work together and get it done fast. They certainly didn't want to have 43 people on it, and even last time, 23 people. And another thing is, it says one person here, one person there. The calendar committee last year and this year's got over half a central office. I mean, half of them are central office of principals. Very few parents. I think one parent last year, one student. I mean, you got to have a representative bunch, but you don't have it stacked in one area. You got to hear voices from everybody. So I think if we're going to have a calendar committee, we need to stick to what we've got. Actually, a teacher, a parent, a student, a principal from each of. We need to stick to that. I don't understand why there's 43 people on the calendar committee right now, except for somebody trying to do something that's not efficient. And good grief, we're here right now this late at night. I'm going to quit talking because we're taking everybody's time. These people over here, they've been working all day. I know you're exhausted.
Judy, can you get to the point?
That's the point. We don't, if we're going to leave it to this, then we need to stick to this. We don't need to vary and go off into all kinds of strange creations. Maybe we should put in here that no more than 20 people or 15.
Ms. Walker?
So this, you're correct, this kind of, we have, 2330 is the board committee policy. I might be wrong on that.
2230.
Thank you very much. That addresses the calendar committee. But this is meant to do what? Be more clarifying about who adopts the calendar, or?
The comments in blue here are are from the calendar committee. That I put those in to match our calendar, committee, our board committee policy.
you said they were.
The NCSBA says the calendar committee will draft school calendars for the ensuing school year to be presented for board approval. The committee will be chaired by the superintendent or designee. And before it said it would be chaired by the board, but actually I don't even see that. It just said it will be chaired by, a member of the board. So it's chaired by the superintendent or designee and must include at least one board member, a teacher, a parent, high school student I added in to get our student voice there, and a principal from each of the school levels. All calendars adopted by the board will be consistent with the requirements. So those are what the NCSBA is requiring. What we discussed at our calendar committee meeting was that do we want to, not a calendar committee, I'm sorry, our policy committee is, do we want representative, a teacher rep, a parent rep, a student rep, a principal rep from all the different levels? Because one student, a high school student can't possibly speak for an elementary school. I got you, Nelson, I got you. Can't possibly speak. And so in order to make a robust, informed decision was to have as much input as we could have. Mr. Boyer.
Madam Chair, in the interest of time, I wish to know if Board Member Justice would like to motion that the calendar committee be limited to 20 people. If that would be the change that she would like to make. With the understanding,
Number we're picking,
she said
pull it
20.
out of our-
She said 20. Board Member
Whatever's-
Justice said 20.
Are you making a motion or are you
No,
just?
I'm not
shouting
making
out
a
loud?
motion. I'm asking what Ms. Justice would like us to change. Is that the motion
Well,
that she's making?
Can I clarify what this is? You just said that the blue was added by you, or you said, I'm confused, what is coming from the school board association, what's coming from us?
No, all I did was I struck out the board, a member of the board as the chair, and put down that the superintendent or designee would be the leader. And it says must include a senior leadership team member, which would be the superintendent or superintendent's designee. I just moved the words around. And then I put at least one board member, teacher, parent, high school student.
Why
So that we
couldn't-
could-
why
At
couldn't
least
a mem-
means we can add more
So
than
you
one.
decided to strike out a member of the board as chair?
Yes, because it did not match our board policy of board committees. So one of them had to change, so I picked one, and I made the recommendation. So this is what, we're all here to decide. Who do you want to lead it, and what do you want our makeup to be? That is the crux of all of what we're discussing right now.
So our actual policy about who can be a member and the role that they play in committees says that we can't have a member of the board as a chair of a committee?
Our policy 2230, which we are about to get to, states clearly that the chair is the superintendent or designee, the subject matter expert, and the board is just on it because it is an advisory committee. It is not a board committee. And advisory committees do not have board members as chairs. They only have subject matter experts, and those are those people sitting over there. Those are the chairs, or people that they have reporting to them are the chairs of our advisory committees.
Advise, so we make the vote.
So
When we make
calendar
the vote.
is not a board committee. Calendar is an advisory committee. So if we want to hold off on passing this one until we talk about 2230 and we just decide which direction we want to go, then we'll know how to make adjustments. So I
Maybe that's
think
a
we
good
can pull
idea.
this off and we can discuss the next one, or we can just,
Let's pull it off.
all right, so is there a motion to do that?
I
To
move-
table the discussion?
I move we table the discussion until after the other one, or a different
Okay,
date.
is there a second? Okay, JJPW. All right, Ms. Bowie, will you please, is there any more discussion? All right, Ms. Bowie, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Boyer,
No.
Mr. Wildebohr,
Is that no to table?
No to table.
Okay.
Mr. Wildebohr? Aye. Ms. Adams?
Aye.
Ms. Craybill?
Aye.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. McManus?
C.
Is that a yes?
He's tired.
Hugh, yeah, I'm telling you. Okay, Ms.
And Ms.
Justice?
Justice.
Yes.
Okay, 6-1. All right, so that one will be tabled. All right, so that brings us to the end of all the ones that are done, so that we have finished up policy consensus and policy amendments. Next on our agenda is the Old Business Calendar Committee report. Dr. Faison, would you please join us at the podium?
The calendar committee met on 9/28. The calendar committee voted to keep the current calendar the way it is.
Okay, hearing that, is there a motion to do anything with that recommendation?
Move to adopt the committee's recommendation.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we've got Mr. Nelson, Mr. Boyer, and Mr. McManus.
I like discussion.
I'm gonna get it, okay. Let me get back up to my notes here. All right, so we have a motion on the table to accept the calendar committee's recommendation, and there is a second. Any discussion?
Do you want to start off down here?
Mr. McManus, would you like to go?
Okay.
Start over there. We always start over here.
Yeah, start over there.
Does anybody over here have any discussion?
Thank
No
you.
discussion over here. Folks over here, go ahead.
I was going to
Mr.
say thank you.
McManus?
but-
Well, I'll make it real simple. We don't play well. How many times have I said that since I've been on the board? It's 10, 20. So I don't think we did as good a job with the calendar committee, the meetings, the consistency of who attended the meetings, who was on the meetings, the numbers at the meetings. I think we could do a better job with that. That's why I recommended last time to send it back to the calendar committee. We can argue and go back to policy, whatever, to determine the number, but right now we need to resolve. We're in October, and so I'll tell you how I feel. I feel that we've had so many divisions as this calendar has moved along, right or wrong or indifferent. This calendar committee made a decision. They all agreed they wanted exams before first semester. That I was there. I am on this new committee. That's why I wanted to be on it. Thank you for putting me on it, because I wanted to hear what people said. They were clear that they wanted exams first semester and along with first semester. However, they also, it appeared to me, and who else saw it was there,
It was on
that they
TV.
were adamant it was too late to change. Two principals, high school principals that were there, who obviously I respect, having been in that situation, said they agreed with this exams first semester, but it would just absolutely create so many issues. So my opinion is I bow to the calendar committee and those who were there who said, yes, they wanted to change it next year. And I would say while we're talking that the superintendent and whoever's in charge of the calendar committee, they need to
Dr.
start
Faison is in
working.
charge.
You need to start thinking about that next year. You were there. It's very clear what they think. Now,
But Mr.
rather than
McManus, we're voting on, the
Okay,
discussion is
so-
about change or accept. Judy? Thank you for your
This
comments.
has been an awful mess, and I said at that meeting, when the calendar committee met, this present one, which has got 43 people on it, and half of them are probably administrators, that we made a mistake, and we did make a mistake. There's no doubt about it. And the mistake wasn't the original calendar committee from last year. They wanted to end too. This mistake was that central office decided to put pressure and changed it, and had it end in January.
Judy, we're talking about,
I'm talking now, it's important. Now, yes, we are in October, and that was caused by you, or whoever else you was working with. We have got to take responsibility, and things have started, and teachers are teaching. And I happen to think if we stopped right now, and they showed they could keep the work days, they could keep all the training, they could do everything that we wanted. I really think that we could still turn it around, but we can't wait any longer. We got to do it now because it's not fair to the teachers. Elementary and middle school are fine. The holidays won't change. They said the work days won't change. And it's appalling to me that people aren't taking responsibility for this mistake, and I will. And I know that the teachers, 8,000 students are affected by this. I don't know what the heck's going to happen when Cape Fear and everything collides in January. Do you think that's right? It can be fixed? It can be fixed. Wait, excuse me. UNCW, the collisions there, the problems with AP, the kids that are going to be going to have the effects from what goes on over Christmas break when they have to come back and probably review for 2 weeks. This was done for the wrong reasons, and it wasn't done by the original calendar committee. And we're stuck with it because we were sort of led astray. Well, I, as somebody that was led astray, am coming back in line to do the right thing by our kids. So I think that we should do the right thing for a change and think of the kids. We got 8,000 kids negatively affected by that. And those two principals, I think that they were being pressured from the whole environment, from what they were going through, because you could see the looks on faces. In fact, I know one of those principals wanted the original calendar, and she's not happy. None of us are.
Ms. Walker?
I know it's late. I understand, and nobody wants to sit here and talk and talk and talk. This calendar discussion we've been trying to have this before school started, and I knew it was important based on the feedback we were getting from the community, and especially the high school kids that were going to have the biggest issue with it. And these problems still have not been solved. We were presented, and I brought a calendar because I didn't think we could have a calendar committee discussion without looking at alternatives. I didn't think we were there just to vote on, you know, and I did it. I did a count on the numbers, and it was a very lopsided committee. And I feel like people that were there to vote with how the district wanted to vote. There was one student and 2 parents. I don't think it was enough people to really get a good grasp. And, you know, it was 17-10, but it could have been a lot closer if it hadn't been such a lopsided committee. And I really wanted to talk about solutions to the problems. And even if we vote tonight to not change it, it's still going to leave problems for our students. And nobody is suggesting any solutions to these problems. And this calendar right here that I had brought as an example was worked on very hard to solve the problems, keeping the holidays the same, the letters training the same. I'm hearing from people that it can be done, and I'm actually getting a communication from people about asking us, why don't we like kids? I don't know, you know, why our high school kids, you know, I've heard the discussion of equity, it's well taken. At the same time, you know, they're the ones that are having to deal with the effects of what we did. And I just think we have an opportunity to change it, and we should change it.
Ms. Adams, did you have a comment?
I just think it's 10:25, and I'd like to call the question on this one.
Okay, Ms. Bowie, will you please call the roll? The motion on the table is to accept the calendar committee's recommendation to keep the calendar the same for school year 22-23. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Mr. Wildebohr?
Aye.
Ms. Adams?
Aye.
Ms. Craybill?
Aye.
Ms. Walker?
No.
Mr. McManus?
Yes.
And Ms. Justice?
No.
Okay, that passes 5-2. Okay,
Madam
next
Chair.
up on our agenda.
Madam Chair?
Mr. McManus?
I would like to just, I don't know where this is going to fit in, but the high school principals must coordinate with those dual enrolled students.
Bring that to the calendar committee. You're on it. You're on it.
But I want to say it, I want everybody to hear,
We-
that is a must, that we work with those students, and that includes affecting attendance, I'm sure.
All right,
It's
so,
not going to work.
Mr. McManus, we do have to move on. Okay. All right, so
Thank you, Ms. Craybill.
your opinion is important, and they're waiting for you. All right, so it is 10:25, and we,
I'd like to make a motion.
okay,
I'd like to make a motion, we vote immediately to adjourn. What's left, we put it in the next meeting, so everybody can go home. It's time.
okay, so the motion is to adjourn the meeting and carry over all the items to the interim meeting. Is that your motion?
Next meeting,
Mr. Weber, can we do that? Is that an appropriate motion? I mean, talk us through like all the ramifications so we don't have to vote 5 times.
I did.
Not yet, I just want to hear.
I seconded it.
Huh?
I did.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So sticking right in there, motion, the motion is to adjourn.
And I'm sorry, seeking guidance on whether the motion is in order?
Yes, I'm seeking guidance on if the motion to adjourn is in order and if we have to add any more words to it.
No, so a motion to adjourn ends the meeting. It's a privileged motion, takes privilege over other matters, even if there are matters pending before the body on the agenda.
Those will be attached to the next meeting.
You could certainly do that in your motion, or it could just be a simple motion to adjourn.
Hold on. So do you want to make your motion to move it all to the interim meeting, or what do you want to make a motion to?
We'll discuss it. Somebody has to do it.
What's your motion? Because we
My
have,
motion is to adjourn and carry it to whatever meeting.
your motion is to adjourn. And so can we just, and your motion is to second to
You can
adjourn?
decide what
I have a
And so
motion.
can- Hold on a second, please. So
So a
can we
motion,
just motion to
to
adjourn?
adjourn ends the meeting.
End the meeting,
If
we
there
can
are
do
any,
that.
if there are any items remaining on the agenda, those can be taken up at a subsequent meeting.
At a subsequent meeting. That just automatically follows suit with an adjournment?
Right.
Okay, all right. So Ms. Justice, do you have a comment?
Yes, I would like to amend to that.
Discussion? Go ahead.
Well, actually, I'd like to amend the, the motion and add one item.
motion
There's been a
just-
young lady that's been sitting here for the whole meeting that was going to do correspondence for me. She did not leave, did she? There she is, yay. She just wanted to talk briefly, and we spoke about this. This is correspondence I received, and she was going to adjust, her name is Gina Worth, and she, Jenna,
No,
sorry,
we're not-
Jenna.
Judy, I already spoke to her part. The announcements have to come to the board chair, and I already addressed hers, and I spoke with her, people at her office.
Wait a second, look, she came out here, she's been waiting for it.
Madam Chair, Madam
Excuse
Chair.
me.
Hold on,
a-
the motion
A
is,
motion to adjourn is
the
not.
motion to
it's
adjourn
not-
is on the
How
table.
about amending it?
It's not subject to debate or amendment.
You-
Majority
this
vote.
young lady's been
Okay,
sitting here
so
6
motion to
hours.
adjourn. Ms. Bowie, will you
There's a
please call the
motion to
roll?
adjourn in a second.
Ms. Bowie, will you
5
please call the
minutes.
roll? No, Judy, because you're breaking the rules.
Oh, yeah, you do it all
Okay.
the time.
Go ahead, Ms. Bowie.
Mr.
We need to
Bullier?
adjourn.
Ms.
Can we
Bowie?
vote, please?
Mr. Bullier?
Yes.
No, she's been sitting there for 6 hours, but she's being,
Yes, Ms.,
Okay, so Mr. Bullier?
Yes.
Mr. Wildebohr?
Aye.
Miss Adams?
Aye.
Miss Craybill?
aye.
Miss Walker?
Yes.
Mr. McManus? And Miss Justice?
no, but
Okay,
that's,
meeting is adjourned.
you didn't want the young lady to stay. She's been sitting here all night. She can't spend, she only got stuck for 3 minutes. I swear, Espanol? I don't mind leaving, but I just wanted her to speak for 3 minutes. She only has a minute.
I think it was when the town. We switched seats.
I'm not happy because that young lady sat here all night. I don't blame her for being mad. You can spend 3 minutes to let her talk.
All right, well, we just gotta shut this down.
It probably is. Was that worth it? Well, I think some people saw some truth they didn't want to see. Doesn't mean it means anything, they saw it. Pardon?
Would you please give this to I'm sure I didn't take away the Jarrell, but Jarrell and Kelly were leaving this. Or you. some future date. Okay. Even though that's all last year's though. Yeah, I think everything in there, maybe save like one copy. Okay. Thank you, folks.